sometimes the most expensive lead source isn't money, it's time and attention. That means you need 80 leads at $50. That easy math is $4,000 per deal. And just like that, a cheap lead source just became $4,000 of acquisition cost for a closing. Before you spend another dollar on Zillow, pay-per-click, or referral leads, you need to know if those leads are actually built to make you money or if they're quietly keeping you broke. By the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly how to tell if a lead source is an investment or an expense, so you can stop guessing and start protecting your cash flow. Y'all, there's a common belief that if you have more leads or more opportunities, that your business is finally going to take off. And that's not really what you're experiencing. What you're experiencing is pressure to close some deals quickly because you're not, and it's costing you money and you're seeing your bank account drain. But you're also seeing other people buying leads, and it makes you feel like you're behind because you're not spending enough money. But here's the truth. You're spending money with no predictable results. You got leads coming in already, but they're not converting. And after you pay those invoices, there's that feeling of regret. And I get it almost monthly. So here's the reality. No one actually has taught you how to calculate your lead ROI. So most of y'all are buying leads and you don't have a strategy behind it because you're buying them off of emotions. You're buying them when you're at a low point and you need business and somebody had called your phone and say, hey, I've got a lead opportunity. And it might even be one of those like pay at closing. You're like, what's the harm in that? There's a big harm in that because paid leads aren't necessarily bad, but it's not something that you should just invest in. You've got to actually take a step back and look at the real issues. And the real issues are buying leads without knowing your break-even math. You may think that it's just a couple leads here for a couple $100. If you close one, it pays for the whole month. But one of the biggest shifts will happen when you realize that a lead source can look really sexy and really busy and a lot of leads, but you can still actually lose money because the number of leads doesn't actually equal the profit. Everything will get simpler when you stop focusing on your cost per lead and start focusing on your cost per closing. And once you truly know that number, your fear, your buyer remorse, it will go away. Your confusion, it will disappear and it will get replaced with clarity, confidence, and exactly where your business should grow. So here's a quick story. I was meeting with a broker team leader the other day and we were just going over some finances with him. And he was showing me where he was spending about $6,000 a month on lead gen. And he was getting, I think, 24 connections through this source, which is great. So his cost per lead wasn't terrible. It was okay. But when you actually looked at it, I was like, well, how many are you closing a month? Well, I'm closing 2 a month, he said. So you're closing 2 a month, but you're actually paying $6,000. So you're spending $3,000 closing. And it wasn't a deep conversation, right? It wasn't something that he couldn't understand, but it was just the way I asked it that he goes, yeah, but I thought I was only paying $120 per lead. Well, you are, but the leads aren't that good. So you're actually paying $3,000 a lead. And as a broker owner, are you making $3,000 per lead? He's like, no, my splits, the agent makes more than that. So he's actually negative, but hanging his hat on the number of leads because he thinks he might make it someday. And he might. His close rate might get higher the longer he nurtures them, but we all know that usually doesn't happen. So I've got a couple solutions. One, you need to identify how much leads are actually costing you per closing. And again, don't do this per lead, do this per closing. And how do we do that? Well, one, you got to look at the platforms because platforms will tell you $20, $40, $80 per leads, and it sounds affordable. But that's not what matters. But the reason they're telling you that is because that's how you'll buy it. If they told you it's $3,000 a closing, you're like, nope, hang up. You're not even going to talk to them. But $20 per lead, you're like, man, I think I could do that. So that's what really matters is how many leads it takes to get to one closing. So let's break it down. If it's $50 per lead, 40 leads get to one serious buyer. That serious buyer is 2 serious buyers get you to one closing. 40 leads get you 1 serious buyer per my math. 2 serious buyers equal a closing because obviously you have a serious buyer, but can they get pre-qualified? Are they going to sign the paperwork? Are they actually going to buy something? Is the closing going to go through? So I think a 50-50 shot. That's a little low, but I think it's good for math. So that means you need 80 leads at $50. That easy math is $4,000 per deal. And just like that, a cheap lead source just became $4,000 of acquisition cost for a closing. Now let's break this down against an actual commission. Let's say you get a $10,000 gross commission and you've got splits and you've got expenses. So let's say you're on a 70-30 just for easy math. You got a $7,000 check coming to you. You're going to have some expenses. Let's say another $1,500 to $2,000 if you know your actual deal cost, because we did that in another video. So let's say you're at $5,000. Now you have to remove that $4,000 lead cost. So you're actually left with $1,000 in profit, which is not bad, but is that real? And the difference between any lead source making you money and actually gaining money is quite small, quite small. So here's the move I want you to make. I want you to calculate your max allowable lead cost. And I want you to start with your net per deal. And let's say your net per deal is $6,000. Now decide what you're willing to spend to acquire that deal. 20 or 30%. That's healthy. 40 to 50%, little aggressive. 60 or more percent to get that lead, it's dangerous and you're playing with fire. So at $6,000 net, 30% means your max lead cost can be $1,800. So let's break that down one more time. So if you've got a $6,000 net and you're willing to spend 30% on a lead cost, which, might be a referral fee. So look at it that way. Say it's a referral fee. It's $1,800. And I'm sure you'll take a referral all day long. Anything above that, and you're reducing your profitability. And also the amount of time that you were nurturing and working on those other 80 leads. Like that time actually adds up to something. So let's look at step 2, Zillow versus pay-per-click versus referrals. Not all lead sources are the same, and there's a trade-off cost. And that is control and time. Zillow leads are faster flow, but they're lower trust and often expensive when it comes to actually getting a lead. You might need 30 to 60 leads just to get to one closing. Pay-per-click or Google ads, yeah, you get more control because you're choosing. They're better long-term branding, but there's a hard learning curve because usually 40 to 80 leads equal a closing. I've done it before, and the ones that come through pay-per-click and Google ads and stuff like that, they're great, but they're statistically, last time I checked, 18 to 24 months out from actually purchasing something because they're online somewhere in a different state going, I wonder what it's like to buy a house in Columbia, South Carolina. And they're researching and my website pops up. They click the link. They're like, great, I want to see houses there. They're nowhere near it because maybe they got to retire still, or maybe their kids are still in school before they move down south and they're ways and ways out, but you got that lead and you're following it up with it like you should. Well, guys, it's a long haul. It may be $10 to get that lead in your pipeline, but it could be 2 years of nurturing. So that's one of the big trade-offs between Zillow, where they call you, they're ready to transact, costs more, but you're more likely to get a deal out of it. It's going to cost you a little more. Now, referrals, love these. There's no upfront costs usually. You have a higher conversion because they're literally an agent calling you with an active buyer or seller saying, take them, please. But there's also a big chunk that goes out the door. So you close a deal, you pay a 40% referral fee. That's $4,000 off the top, gone out the door. That can be expensive. So a practical solution is to match your lead strategy to your stage. If you're in survival mode, you got to reduce the risk and you got to lean on referrals, sphere, and organic. If you're in growth mode, start testing the paid channels, right? That's okay, but carefully. And if you're scaling, now you can layer on multiple lead sources and build systems around them. So if you're a team leader and you're trying to bring leads in, or a company owner, run multiple horses in this race. Do some PPC, do some Facebook ads, get some Zillow leads. So you've got a little bit of everything that can, once you get it up and going, will be turning leads and turning them out. So the third part I want to point out is, how do you know if it's worth it for you? Well, here's where most agents mess up. They get a copy of what other agents are doing. And I've seen some of these playbooks or these manuals, y'all, and they're intense. And you're not realizing their actual numbers are going to be different because of your market, your splits, your follow-up system, and all of it changes your ROI. I travel a lot, and people think I have 3 heads when I tell them we close close to 300 houses a year, and they're in California for the same volume, closing 20. Right? So there's always a difference on how leads are going to work. And I have also tested this in different markets. I may have done something in Columbia, South Carolina, and done the same exact thing in Knoxville, Tennessee, with drastically different results because those buyers, those sellers, they work differently up there because of what they've been nurtured and trained into by the real estate industry. So you might have the same lead sources, but completely different outcomes is what I'm trying to tell you. So let's take a practical approach. Before you commit to anything, I want you to run this simple equation. I want you to get the net commission per deal. I want you to subtract your cost per deal, which is one of the previous videos. Hopefully it pops up in a second. And that's going to equal your profit. And if that number works, it's viable. If it doesn't, it's going to be costing you more than it was worth. And don't ignore this step. This time that you're looking at, it costs too much. And if a lead takes 6 months with 100 follow-up of consistent effort, you got to have to ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? Because sometimes the most expensive lead source isn't money, it's time and attention. Before you buy any leads, I need you to ask yourself 3 things. what's your max allowable cost, how much you want to spend to get it, what's the real cost per closing, the overall cost, and how long will it take me to convert this lead? And if you don't know those answers, y'all, you're not making an investment. You're making a guess. And guys, once you understand this, something shifts in your mind. You're going to stop chasing leads and you'll start controlling your business. Because I've seen it. The most dangerous lie isn't, I can't afford these leads. It's maybe I just need one more lead package. That's one decision that is quietly draining thousands of dollars out of your pocket every year. Not because you aren't working hard, but because you don't know the real cost behind that next invoice. So in the next episode, we're going to be breaking down the truth behind just one more lead syndrome and how it keeps you stuck, stressed, and constantly starting over. And I want you to figure out how to finally break free from it. So if you want to build a business that actually pays you back, not one that keeps you in debt or your lead sources in debt, make sure you watch the next episode, because the difference between struggling agents and scalable agents, it's not effort. It's knowing your numbers, making decisions from clarity, not hope. And if you want more real world strategies on how to run a profitable real estate business, go ahead and like this video for me. I want you to subscribe to my channel as well, because you don't want to miss what's coming next, because I want you to follow this all the way through so we can get your finances in order.